If you go to Nairobi, you'll find that you have much of the technology that we would have in London. In fact, the 4G signal, in my experience, is better in Nairobi than it is in London. And so people in major cities in sub-Saharan Africa are embracing the digital revolution and using digital technology to really expand and develop the economy. But go 50 miles outside Nairobi, and this is what you'll find. You have households that have no access to conventional infrastructure. There's no electricity, there's no water, there's no sanitation. In fact, there is only one universal piece of infrastructure in the world, and that is the mobile phone. You will get mobile phone technology and mobile phone signal in a village. It won't be 4G, but you will have mobile phone. So we have a digital divide. We have cities where people have access to all of the things that you would expect, and we have rural areas where people are still living decades, even centuries behind in terms of their ability to access infrastructure. This is not a pretend photo. This is real life for millions and millions of people. There are 1.2 billion people in the world who don't have access to the grid. 600 million of those, that's 10 times the population of the UK, live in sub-Saharan Africa. People are using kerosene lamps, they're using candles to be able to read. And so you've got this very strange situation where individuals have got smartphones, which is perhaps 20-year-old technology, and using candles and kerosene that the pharaohs would have understood perfectly well. So how do we get power to individuals who don't have access to the grid? Well, conventionally, it would look a bit like this. We'd build a very large power station, and then we would create a grid which would take that power to the individual. The problem with that is that the cost and the time taken to be able to roll that out is simply not viable. So let me look at perhaps a different way of doing it. Here is another type of power station. Now, that may not look like a whole lot like a power station to you, but in the top right-hand corner of that calculator, you have solar power. And that device has just enough power to provide the power needed for that device. So that's kind of the beginnings of an interesting idea. Instead of starting off with power stations which generate huge amounts of power and then trying to distribute those, how about going the other way up? How about instead providing just enough power for an individual household, or just enough power indeed for an individual device, and enable power to be provided bottom up, not top down, to individual households?